Good afternoon, and welcome to everyone joining me today for this presentation. I am Mrs. Emerentia Botha, the subject advisor at Mango Metro, and I will be presenting today's lesson on the present tense. So present means now, and it is a past two, so we are looking at the present tense today. Just you. Right, we have four types of tenses. We have the simple present tense, which is the present indefinite tense. Present continuous tense, we also call it the present progressive tense, the present perfect tense, and the present perfect continuous tense. We will be looking at the simple present tense or the present indefinite tense first. What is important to remember about this tense? We look at facts. For example, I live in Poland. Habits and routines. For example, they swim every day. Feelings and emotions. For example, they like pizza. And general truths. Sunday comes after Saturday. Now, what we've noted here is that in the simple present or the present indefinite tense, we use the first column verb. So that is very important. For singular, so when it's only one, for example, we say, I am cold. That is a statement. Now you would notice the Superman logo there on the screen. For I, this is not relevant. I is an exception to the rule because I is always spelled with a capital letter and I is big and strong and it can look after itself. So the S, the Superman that needs to protect, is for a singular person. We will look at that now. So the question then for I am cold is the statement. Am I cold is the question. And I am not cold is the negative. And you will note that we use the first column verb every time. Now the one that needs the Superman to protect them. My brother, because it's only one person we're looking at. My brother lives in a village. That's a statement. So you see at the verb, we use the first column verb, but the Superman, the S, then protects the one that's alone. So my brother lives in a village is the statement. Now, when we turn this into a question, we say, does my brother live in a village? Here we see that does determines the tense for us. So that takes the S, the Superman. So, does my brother live in a village is the question. The negative will be, my brother does not live in a village. Now, an important thing to note here is that if we want to determine the tense, we always look at the verb. When there's more than one, so the plural, two or more, they are in a group. This means that they are together. They do not need a Superman to protect them. That's why we will say, for example, they are cold. There's no S at the verb. That's the statement. The question, are they cold? And then the negative, they are not cold. Let's look at another example. My grandparents live in a village. They are two now, so they do not need a Superman S at the verb. So that's why we say my grandparents live in a village. That's the statement. And you will see we are still busy with a simple present tense because we use the first column verb. Now we ask the question, do my grandparents live in a village? And then if you turn the sentence into a negative, parents do not live in a village. That is then our present indefinite tense. The next one we'll be looking at is the present continuous or the present progressive tense. This tense describes an action that is in progress or happening frequently. So here we will still use the first column, but now we will combine it with the present participle of a verb in the ing form. We look at an example, singular 1. Remember that I is the exception to the rule. So I am watching a movie. That is the statement. We see the first column verb am, and we see the present participle form of the verb. We see watch plus the ing. We want to turn this into a question. We say, am I watching a movie? And then the negative, I am not watching a movie. Now the singular with a S. So at the moment, he is reading a book. That is the statement. We see the first column verb is, and we see then the present participle of the verb, read plus the ing. We turn it into a question. Is he reading a book at this moment? Please always remember that after a question, we put a question mark. In the negative, we will say, he is not reading a book at this moment. Then if we look at the plural, which is always 2 or more, people are adopting more pets these days. That is the statement. So here you can see that we use the first column verb and the present participle of the verb, ing. We put this into a question. Are people adopting more pets these days? The negative, people are not adopting more pets these days. Then another example, they are going to exercise classes regularly. So again, here we see the first column verb are, and we see the present participle of the verb with the ing. So go plus ing. They are going to exercise classes regularly. The question there, are they going to exercise classes regularly? And then the negative, they are not going to exercise classes regularly. That is then our present continuous or the present progressive tense that we use. Our next one is the present perfect tense. Now, if we are not home language speakers, then we sometimes confuse this tense with a past tense, but it is indeed a present tense because we use it to describe past actions that continue into the present. It uses the auxiliary verbs have for plural or has for singular, followed by the past participle or the third column verb of the main verb. Let me show an example. Singular. I have eaten an apple. That's a statement. Again, to the ear, for some people, it might sound like a past. But remember, in the past perfect, we always use the auxiliary verb had, never have or has. So this is how we determine that it's actually a present tense. Have I eaten an apple? That's the question. I have not eaten an apple. That is the negative. Another example, she has eaten an apple. That's the statement. So now we use the auxiliary has to form the present perfect tense. And with that, the third column verb or the past participle of the main verb, eaten. Then if it's a question, has she eaten an apple? And then in the negative, she has not eaten an apple. So again, you will note that I is the exception to the rule. That is why it's have. But then she, he, or it will be has. We continue to the plural form, 2 or more. So they're now in a group again. They have played football today. That is our statement. Our question will be, have they played football today? And the negative will be, they have not played football today. So look at the time word, today. The next one, we have visited the zoo recently for the statement. Have we visited the zoo recently? That's the question. And the negative, we have not visited the zoo recently, the time word recently. And now you can see every time in blue again, we use the auxiliary. We only use have here because it's a plural, but it's every time it's followed by the past participle or the third column verb of the main verb. So it will be, and please do not get confused. It is the present perfect tense. So you look at your time words and you will remember that have and has will be present. The past will be had, not have or has. Now we look at the present perfect continuous. So it's this tense. You can see that it has the same name as the present perfect and then the present continuous. So it's almost like it's combined. And what we use this for is for an ongoing action that started in the past and is still continuing up to the present moment. Here we will have the subject, and again we will have the auxiliary have or has, have for plural, has for singular, plus the word been, and then plus the verb with the ing. So you will remember in the present perfect tense, we use the auxiliaries have or has, and in the present continuous, we also add a verb with ing with our verb then there. But now in this one, it's almost like we combine them. We have has and have, and then we add been, and we also add the ing. So it will look like this. Singular, I have been working on this project all day. That is your statement. Then I have been working on this, the question, have I been working on this project all day? In the negative, I have not been working on this project all day. He has been living in the village for 5 years. That's the statement. Has he been living in the village for 5 years? That's the question. And he has not been living in the village for 5 years. So we can see the has for singular, apart from with I. And then we can also see the word been and the ing at the verb. Then the plural for two or more. We have been waiting for the bus for an hour. That's our statement. Have we been waiting for the bus for an hour is the question. We have not been waiting for the bus for an hour is the negative. They have been playing soccer since this morning is the statement. Have they been playing soccer since this morning? The question. And then the negative, they have not been playing soccer since this morning. So every time now it's plural, we see have, the auxiliary verb, we see been, and we see the verb with the ing. So that's then our present tense. We have the present perfect continuous tense here. We have the present perfect tense, the present continuous, and the simple present or the present indefinite tense. Then thank you very much for listening today. I hope you've learned something, and may you have a wonderful afternoon.